Hi Avinash. How are
Hi.
you?
I'm good. Good. Nice
Wonderful.
to see you, Apalak.
Pleasure is all mine, Avinash. So many discussions have passed. You've been extremely kind to me in particular. I've got the privilege of speaking to you on multiple topics, multiple domains. And so pleasure hosting you once more. I know you're donning multiple hats, Avinash, now. So, and somebody of your temperament caliber can only do so. So congratulations to that as well.
Thank you so much.
Right.
I need all the support from you guys.
Always there, Avinash. So Avinash, today, I thought of touching upon an area which a lot of people hear about. Maybe some know about it, but a lot would love to know, which is blockchain, right?
Right.
And let's be mindful the fact that you and I are discussing this more to do about how blockchain becomes relevant in the enterprise space. There are examples of blockchain in, cryptocurrency. A lot of people know about non-fungible tokens and so on and so forth, maybe.
Yeah.
But the understanding is fairly limited to as far as enterprise use cases go. So,
Right.
First and foremost, very basic question to clear the entire concept of. So, what is blockchain, Avinash, and how is it associated with a term called distributed ledger technology? Why is blockchain associated with the term distributed ledger technology?
Okay. Simple question, but it's a bit difficult too. Especially when people are having so many ways of perspectives of a blockchain.
Right.
Primarily, a blockchain, just to get it on record, is a distributed ledger with transactions that are distributed across the entire network of computers and nodes on a blockchain. So each transaction is created in a block and that is hashed. So the next block again matches with the mathematical computation, discovers the hash and puts it in the blockchain, and that chain is known as a blockchain. So traditionally or typically, blockchain technology initiated and has been mostly being used for crypto.
Right.
So Bitcoin is the most well-known
Right.
topic, and other Ethereum and so on and so forth. But today here I'm trying to explain distributed ledger technology. So blockchain is a distributed ledger primarily because it's part of a distributed network, but it also has an additional component of hashing and cryptography, which creates a blockchain. Whereas in pure terms, distributed ledger is a plain distributed network across computers, and all the transactions are replicated across, and there's no way that the transactions can be countered. So distributed database is spread across various computers nodes and is accessible by multiple people around the globe. So if somebody wants to hack or try to change the record, they have to actually get all the nodes in the network, which is practically very impossible because it's spread across the entire network. If you can give a simple company like our earlier peer-to-peer torrents, etc. So it's distributed. The users are distributed, but the ledger is distributed across the network. So every node has a copy. So if you can't change a change, which can be only in one node, it has to be done all the nodes simultaneously. So primarily, a distributed ledger is very immutable. That means it's immutable, and that's where and it's secure. That's where the technology comes into. So far the focus has been on crypto, but the decentralized technology is really not leveraged, and there's a huge potential today to utilize this distributed ledger technology into enterprises for multiple solutions, which we'll talk shortly.
Right.
I hope I made this.
No, Avinash, you did, because I was going to ask you a question in and around decentralization security, but you actually touched upon it, because the way I understand what you say and whatever limited understanding that I have of this space is like you very succinctly put. For instance, if you have a token, for instance, if you own something in the blockchain, the chances of getting replicated is almost next to negligible, because of the fact that once it is done, that record is there across the blockchain, right?
Correct.
Which is why, and hence it's also supports that concept of decentralization. So I think if I've understood correctly, Avinash.
So just to elaborate further, you may have a question: what is the difference between distributed network or a distributed server versus a distributed ledger?
Right, yes.
Right. So what happens in a distributed server network? You have a database copy which is referring to a central server, and distributed nodes are accessing it. In a distributed ledger technology, there is no central authority or server managing the database. The whole thing is that it is spread across the network and there is no central authority. So it's totally decentralized. So every node is a contributor. Few nodes are consensus algorithms which vote and add to the node. It depends on how you are configuring the network and architecture.
Avinash, this is very interesting. I'm going a little off tangent here. Excuse me for that.
Sure.
But when we hear these concepts of Web 3.0 or Web or Metaverse, there is this entire concept of decentralization, as you just mentioned.
That's right.
Do you have some common ground when you talk about blockchain and Metaverse?
Sure. See, Web 2, I won't go to Web 1 and 2.0. Everybody knows that. Web 2.0 was like we had more interactive sessions and activities across the network. And primarily, all the data of the user is to be siphoned off with his knowledge or without his knowledge.
Right.
And that was being further utilized by the enterprises to optimize their businesses, or maybe even sold off to somebody else to use. So that in that scenario, today we don't have any control on our data. In Web 3.0, you are going to create a kind of a blockchain environment where your data privacy is there is not going to be any central Facebook or central Google who will control the information. You won't be registering there. There will be a network environment, a blockchain environment, which will store those records and it will be decentralized, and that will be authorizing. So if you talk in a technical terms, it's called DAO, Distributed Authority Operations, wherein most people who have influence will vote, and the maximum votes will generate what will happen onto the chain network. Primarily, blockchain 3.0 environment is going to come, but it will take time. Before that, we need to have a lot of baseline in terms of blockchain environment adoption across most enterprise, which may happen by 2028 or 2030. It may be a 3 billion economy or use for blockchain by that time.
Right.
Because right now the Googles, AWS, and IBMs are working very hard on this.
Right. So Avinash, I have a couple of questions, but I'll park them for time being because they are in line with what you asked. So, but next question to you is very obvious question, at least from my end, since I track the enterprise space more closely. Cryptocurrency, as you mentioned, is a great example of blockchain. People still know about it. How can enterprises, use, what is the future of blockchain as far as enterprises go?
Yeah. So if you really look at what is the technological aspects of the blockchain, those are very important. So you can create IDs, which are like irrefutable IDs. So that can lead to a lot of asset identification, asset creation. So all the logics in terms of NFTs.
Right.
So for simple user understanding, non-fungible tokens are tokens created digitally, which represent the real world asset or art piece or whatever. So it made waves, a lot of waves, and the large artwork was spent, bought on like quite a huge millions of dollars. So after that, music space is nearly latched onto this technology, but there is a lot of environment which can be utilized in multiple enterprises because of this immutable, irrevocable, secure, and provenance base. When I say provenance base, it means today if you have any asset, the record is in individual enterprises or individual entities. Nobody has end-to-end visibility of the product. So in a blockchain technology, from the start to the end, you will know from where the product originated, who made changes, what changes were made, and till the time of disposal, what happened. So, and it is available for all users to see. So at any point of time, any organization from any place can look at it. So this has a large impact on supply chain kind of environments where you have going through multiple agencies across multiple regions, geopolitically, etc.
Okay. And as far as India and the geography goes, any industries which you feel are going to drive the adoption of blockchain? What,
Oh, yes.
your understanding, what would they be?
Oh, yes. Today, blockchain is basically into supply chain, retail, government services, intellectual property, healthcare, oil and gas, real estate, etc. But if I talked in terms of purely India perspective, okay. So RBI, as you know, is already working on a digital rupee.
Yes.
They're working on a digital rupee. So BFSI industry, once if that comes through with our UPI background, O&M network, it will be a huge boost for us and will leapfrog a lot of use cases and industries which are running around. But till that time, let's hope. Meanwhile, all our major banks, ICICI, Kotak, HDFC, Yes Bank, and others, they have launched blockchain loan systems in the country.
Okay.
So they're already onto it.
Okay. Any of the other traditional sectors like IT, ITES, manufacturing, any?
Yeah, I'm coming one by one. So there are multiple. So this was BFSI. Second is in governance.
Okay.
So in governance, if you look at it, Maharashtra is already working on vehicle management. The RTO is deploying blockchain technology for that.
Okay.
In agriculture, there are some applications. Supply chain, there are few applications. And government birth and death registrations are being working. The most primary impact will be in terms of voting, but they are still working on it. Nothing has come out. So that's in terms of government and governance. In terms of education, today we have a huge issue in terms of paper leaks and conducting re-exams, etc. So there are issues of those kind, and even fake certificates. So in education also, a lot of universities have started adopting, blockchain technology to derive all those unique ID certificates, etc. So that when the certificates are issued, it can be easily validated across the network. But for that, you need to have a lot of universities to come, a lot of agencies to come on board, which is the challenge as of now. But slowly it will come through. In terms of healthcare, there is so many things in terms of prescription reports, medical records, etc. happening. So multiple consultations. So coming to specifically Maharashtra government with Gokuldas Tejpal Hospital, they have formed nodes of donors, hospitals and agencies involving the health departments, which means the blockchain matches the demand supply and also keeps the anonymity of the donor intact and helps in record manipulation. So which is a very good example of blockchain, and it utilizes all these aspects which I spoke of. Identity verification is one part where you can get your digital identity, usernames, password, driver, etc. A lot of stuff can happen. Supply chain I already spoken of. So multiple areas this thing, and apart from this, there are, if you see globally, so many examples like gem and diamond industry certifying those diamonds that have some certificates.
Yes.
So those kind of stuff is there. Or if you really go out and see kind of mining industries, you can look at energy industry where there are renewable land records. Journalism also is utilizing it, waste management, tourism. All these guys are leveraging. There are so many use cases going around which using blockchain, but still it is taking time. I can really relate to this, and 8 years back when we were talking about cloud and things we were trying to push cloud concept. So I think blockchain is something like that. As of now, it will catch hold slowly as adoption goes on.
So since you spoke about adoption, thanks for the cue, Avinash. Imagine there's an organization who wants, like you give the examples of industries, right? Now, if I were to talk about a specific organization, say organization ABC, who understands that blockchain is the technology future,
correct,
and wants to embark on that journey,
right?
Just this much. But this is a problem statement in front of you. How would you recommend that journey starts for an organization? What is the tipping point?
Okay, the first tipping point is that use case what you have needs to get validated with what data you want to include. Okay. So the data what you want to include in the blockchain is critical. Whether who owns it, you own it, it's externally owned, you need to map it. Okay. Then the partners you need to share the data with. Who are the partners you are sharing the data with? So like any business sharing partner with supply chain vendor partner, or you can have any other areas. So who are you partnering the data with? And finally, what is the value you're going to derive by putting it on a decentralized network? Right. Is what is the question that needs to be answered. So the driver for that can be flexibility in operation, security, or maybe unity. All the topics of blockchain which I mentioned has to be validated. So value derivation from what you want to put is a key driver which will drive the use case and stuff. So if I really look at today's context, security is a big value driver today. And that is going to lead a lot of enterprises which are looking at security to get onto the blockchain and handle it.
And also, when you gave the example of healthcare, there's so much concern of privacy these days, Avinash. Security with privacy.
Exactly.
Right. And okay, again, maybe a very standard question that may come to you, but just out of curiosity. Now, like you gave the example of cloud computing. If a company finally eventually decides that they want to embark on the journey, does an organization need any specialized software or infrastructure for blockchain project, or what is it? How do you go about it?
Okay. So in terms of your blockchain environment, of course, there's always an infrastructure and software development environment which is there. So primarily, a use case will drive the compute platform, infrastructure, and APIs which you need. But at the same time, you'll need an infrastructure. Whether you need a bare metal infrastructure or you need a cloud environment will depend on the use case, because depending how it will get access, where it will be put up, that will decide a cloud environment. On a software, there are multiple software the applications like Solidity, Get, Mesh. They are all based on different Ethereum base or Solana base or multiple base of blockchains. That will decide and derive the environment, and primarily what is the architecture you're going to have, whether it's decentralized, distributed, all those things will drive. So primarily you may have a private blockchain or a public blockchain or a federated blockchain. In a blockchain also you may have a permission blockchain where you need to have suited organizational permissions to the nodes, or a permissionless blockchain. So all that thing will get an architecture. So it basically is a set of nodes, a set of technology, set of architecture which is there. It's a complex because it's still new and it's evolving. But there are services like blockchain as a services which will come up, which will take care of your runtime of softwares like software as a service. The blockchain as a service is already there. AWS, IBM, etc. offering. Multiple agencies are there, and there are multiple collaborations in terms of Corda, Ripple, or Hyperledger or Quorum, which will come through based on what technology. There are, if I'll tell you, there are hundreds of, more than thousands of blockchain already into a network, catering to different areas. Some is catering to reality, some is catering.
Sorry. I was about to ask this. So, again, a very fundamental question is, if a company, and I say, I understand this is a upcoming area, but if a company decides to embark on it, do you create the blockchain itself on your own, or you're part of a larger network? Now, for instance, when we talk about public computing, public cloud computing, you access through public internet, which is already available. In blockchain, are you part of a larger process, or you create that environment on your own?
Yeah, that's what I said. Like, it's the architecture which has to be put in place, which will guide this in this case. So there are multiple consortiums, whether you're going to use Ethereum or you're going to use something else. Those it's a more complex and in-depth topic. Just to quickly answer your question, your architecture will depend on your process output, how fast it will work. It also depends whether now blockchain is becoming a energy sustainability topic. So if you're going to change from proof of work to proof of stake and multiple topics, there is going to be an impact on your response and utilization. So there are multiple blockchains and multiple architecture. So to simplify, you have blockchain as a service. You rather go to a blockchain as a service provider and then deploy your applications on top of it. So there are similarly available core developers, API developers and function developers. So trying to, if your use case is so critical, you think something I'm unique and I want to build, yes, you can go ahead and get into an individual setting up a blockchain, which will guzzle millions of rupees, of course. But then that's the use case. What you believe and what you think is important.
It's the classic conundrum between public and private cloud also.
That's right. Right.
And Avinash, again, very initial stage, but have you done at your end any proof of concept thing or research notes on blockchain and your learnings from that, if at all you want to share?
Okay, some learnings are there. I'm all actively involved in a lot of forums now, and I'm also have some views from there. So today, if you basically want to address the challenges of the blockchain, that's the question, right?
Right. Absolutely.
So primarily interoperability. That means when you're getting into a blockchain, who is your customers and who are the consumers, whether we are all onto that blockchain environment or not. Because there are so many blockchains and so many consortiums. And since it's a distributed nature of environment, primarily how many nodes are onto your blockchain network is critical. It's more so that you have to attract those nodes so that your solution starts working. So there is still too many of them right now. It will happen slowly, concentrate on what's already happening. But first challenge is interoperability. Second is you have a lot of legacy networks. So they are a major hurdle for blockchain because people are already invested in it. Technology is changing the whole economic. You can't rip and replace. And even that's the reason today also a lot of things are still running in legacy, not gone on cloud. It's a similar story here.
Yes, absolutely.
Because data, it's primarily
a valid point actually.
Yeah.
Right.
So this is a distributed network, and there is a question in people's mindset since they are not clear about technology. Will my data will be known to all, or will my transaction be transparent? Will the competition copy my transaction if it is on public? Those kind of. Of course, there are a lot of configurations available, but for the adoptions, these are the most of the things people worry about.
Right.
And third, skill set. If the technology is new, skill sets are very rare and very expensive. So it's a major challenge. But slowly it's moving off. Cost challenges, of course, transforming an ecosystem to a blockchain. You need a lot of costs involved in terms of enterprise blockchain, getting the partners, getting the environment. So it is still going to take time in terms of cost perspective. But if you really look at it, the application base is huge. That's where the use case becomes most important. Some things you really cannot put a cost to it, and it has to imperatively go on to because of security or business aspects or business flexibility, all those aspects. Cost doesn't matter then. So initial use case will be those kind of stuff, and then slowly it will become a run-of-the-mill business as usual for others. So by 2028,
So Avinash, but do you feel many times, there are instances when a certain success or champion of a cause helps gravitate success to other industrial areas as well. So my question here is the fact that there's so much of noise around Bitcoin and Ethereum and cryptocurrency in general. Do you think that will eventually reflect positively upon the enterprise adoption in future?
To answer that, crypto is definitely a huge use case and it's a big component of blockchain today. And it's also part of ICO, initial coin offerings for startups. So those environments are there. People are still trading on it, making money. Billions and trillions of dollars are there in this thing. So blockchain is put onto that platform. But as I was saying, to distinguish between the crypto and the DLT. The DLT is the one which is enterprises will start utilizing and leveraging.
Right.
If you look today, government is coming down hard on any crypto offerings of any companies, at least in India. So it's going to be difficult. But at the same time, they are working on coming on a digital rupee. So with that kind of environment coming into and people jumping to that bandwagon, then it becomes primarily what it means is what is a barter system. Today, current environment barter system is Bitcoin for a distributed system. The moment a large economy comes up and we anywhere in a good place, when Swift is going off, we are coming up with a Asia-centric financial setup system. because of all the Ukraine, Europe, and US conflicts, geopolitical tensions. So things are working out, and I would say today blockchain I won't look at individually. Like when I asked, well, take a reference of Soclomo, social mobility cloud. Today it's like Bitcoin, IoT, and AI. This is the new combination which will work together, and in sync they will deliver a huge potential to the business.
No, it reminded me of my presentation from my past. I mean, so rightly said. I used to speak so much around. I used to call it CAMS, which is Social Mobility Analytics and Cloud, and the new acronym, very rightly said, is around IoT, blockchain, AI, ML. So yeah, I think this is the future forward for technology adoption.
Yeah, I think I should get an acronym for that.
Please do that and popularize it. I mean, the market needs that. Lovely.
But that's what is actually the future of IT technologies and other applications.
Avinash, like I said, this conversation will go on. So much to learn, and this is just scratching the surface. But I hope I continue these conversations, maybe some more new emerging areas in future.
Sure.
For the time being, thank you so much. Always a pleasure talking to you. Thanks for
taking the time. Thanks for the opportunity.
Bye.